for everyone joining us, I'm Wiz. I'm the co-founder of Valerie, and we're doing a series of Instagram lives around paradoxes. So, how 1 minute you can have one feeling, and the next an extreme one at the other end of the spectrum that might feel like they're all a bit crazy. So, we're trying to dig deeper into the differences between these different paradoxes from the experts that we're talking to over these few weeks. And I'm really excited today to have Claire Doré with me. She is a relationship coach, and our topic today is Horndog 1 minute, none mode activated the next. What has happened to my libido? I just can't wait to talk about this one. I think it's a topic that lots of people will want to be talking about, and I'm sure we'll have lots of questions. So yeah, feel free to put anything in the chat, anyone that's watching, or any comments afterwards if you're watching on the replay, and we can, yeah, Claire will be able to jump back in on that. So I'd love, Claire, for you to introduce yourself in your own words and talk about who you are and what your passion is.
Yeah, thank you, Wiz. And funnily enough, like I have had a massive growth experience, I'd say over the last sort of month, and but in particular in the last week. And I have just basically got rid of my title because I decided it was limiting me,
Mm.
right? Because titles put people in a box. So if I was going to describe what I do, which is really like from comes from who I am. I essentially help people be themselves and be able to fully express themselves in all ways and guises.
Fantastic. And I certainly know when people are experiencing changes around perimenopause and again some of those extreme feelings that sometimes feeling, it's there can be a real loss of identity and kind of knowing oneself as well. And I think it's a real opportunity actually to explore who you are. And I've certainly done a lot of exploring myself over the last 2 years of who I thought I should be, and is this the real me, and how do I, yeah, I suppose, uncover who's actually inside that maybe I've suppressed over the years. So although it can be challenging, things can come up, but I certainly always feel that it's a good opportunity for growth as well.
I absolutely agree. And I think this whole phase for a woman, I believe, having gone through all of
Mm.
the phases, right? I am menopausal. And yeah, I had my one day. So I I feel it's a real awakening time
Mm.
for women. It really is. And I think it's a massive opportunity to really, yeah, uncover who you are. Because I always, I believe that, we uncover who we are in the times that are the most challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think often when we look back as well at what's happened over the years, that although those difficult times, something's always blossomed or come from that, and there's been a huge growth and learning opportunity. So I suppose just to position this as well, like in our earlier Instagram lives, we talked with Bex, who's our perimenopause expert, and we talked about how this decline of estrogen is responsible for some crazy symptoms all over the body, including our amazing vaginas and our libido. And sometimes they can feel itchier or drier or detached from ourselves and our body, or we can actually feel like we're kind of got the raging horn. And it can really vary from women to women. And I mean, I'd love to know your thoughts as well, is thinking about this shift in libido. Do you think this is in our minds? Is it down to confidence, or is it, obviously there's physicalities going on inside as well, but I'm sure you've got some interesting perspectives on this.
I do. I have, yeah, I do, and it's based on my own authentic experience of this, and then coaching other women and just witnessing what I see them go through, and friends as well, and what I have really come to feel like what the essence of navigating menopause in a kind of effortless way is all connected to being who you are, but in particular the piece that I know for myself I hadn't fully embodied was my sexuality, and like really owning that. And if you think, sexuality, spirituality, deeply interconnected. So there's such a core part of who we are. And that's very much been my journey is I was completely disconnected to my pussy, my womb, my sexuality, did not own that at all. And what I, so I kind of had like a journey of two halves, really. When I was married, when I was completely disconnected, and actually it was a prolapse that caused me to connect with the most powerful portal and life force between our legs. And it's like, yeah, well, you can't see it unless you get a mirror, you know. So
Yeah.
it caused me to create this connection, and it was from there, like I was holding all this tension in my womb space. I was completely, not conscious to that, and carrying a lot of emotion, a lot of trauma. And really it was like clearing that, so doing, really processing all of that emotional stuff, that actually allowed me to really own my sexuality. And then since then it was a game changer. It was a game changer. And I really truly believe it is all to do with a woman knowing who she is and having done that, processing around all the emotions.
Yeah. And I suppose I'd love to know, like with all the women that you work with and help on this as well, is what are your kind of tips that helps people discover this? I mean, some people might have never heard of this type of awakening before, or other people listening, it might really resonate. But I suppose what are those things that you find have helped people either connect or kind of understand with their own bodies?
Yeah, I think you know, I everyone's in a different place, right? And
Mm.
everyone's going to have a different journey and a different experience. We've all got different bodies, we've all got different wombs, we've all got different vulvas, pussies, whatever you call it. So, everyone is going to be in a different place with that. And, I've had clients who literally have no connection from like the neck down. And so really supporting them, and that was me, like I didn't have a connection either. And so really supporting them to start to create that connection, because here's the thing, you know when a woman owns her sexuality, she owns her voice. So if you imagine the impact of that, right? She knows what she wants in the bedroom and is willing to ask for it. But equally, she knows what she wants in her business, in her life. And once, so it's such an important piece. There is the connection between the vulva and the vocal cords. They're a direct mirror image of each other,
Mm.
because they came from the same seed in the embryo and then split as the embryo grew into two organs. And so it's so deeply interconnected. And um, coming back to your question, which now I'm like, what was the question? It was there more that I wanted to answer there. I'm not sure.
Oh, it was around how's a lot of the women you work with, how do you
Oh,
help people? What
yeah.
are your tips for helping them to connect if they are disconnected?
Yeah. So awareness
Mm.
is number one, like awareness. And I think, a woman, let's say a woman who is not connected at all, um, and maybe has never self pleasured. It's really about starting that connection, which can start with awareness, and maybe just placing her hand right there over her pussy. And that can be huge for a woman who has been
Mm.
disconnected. That can bring a lot of emotion, just literally putting their hands there. And then, there's steps that I would take a client through. And as a client that I've been working with recently, and the other night actually we were coaching, and I said to her about being sexy, and she has such a strong aversion to being
Mm.
sexy in her body. Like her body rejects it.
Mm.
So I I don't push it. I just, you know, let her like marinate in it. And interestingly, this week, just after that conversation, and I've kind of suggested that she might want to start talking to herself in the mirror and, complimenting herself, right? And so, she's been starting this kind of journey, but very, very resistant. And she said to me the other day, "Oh my gosh, a guy flirted with me in the shop. This hasn't happened for me for like 10 years." And she
Wow.
said, like, there's something that obviously, to do with the coaching and the fact we've been talking about it.
Mm.
Of course, it's like, it's opened her up, it's expanded her. And that's really the work that I do, is like, I expand people into that
Mm.
that bigger version of themselves so they can feel confident to fully express themselves. So, it's really working with a woman in terms of like where she's at. And yeah, there's steps to, just kind of like go further, and yeah, creating that intimacy with self.
Mm. Amazing. Yeah, and I mean, I suppose the first step is listening to this today and seeing how how people listening now are feeling about this conversation, and whether it's making them feel excited or awkward or yeah, or feeling nothing at all, like you say. It's that exploration and yeah, starting to, I think, listen to yourself, isn't it, and listen to your own body.
Yeah, and it's really, anyone who is listening and maybe their body is really responding, my advice would be to really be with that. Like, really would be with it. Don't suppress it. Don't go and do anything. Don't like avoid it, but like be with it and actually ask, like, what is the message here, right? There is so much we can, do, kind of as self-coaching, right? Just to be with ourselves and be present with the body, that can really clear things.
Yeah, amazing. And I love your openness and honesty you share on social media. And I watched one of your masterclasses on YouTube last week. I'd love you to share a bit more of your experience with, I suppose, certainly with the perimenopause phase as well, because it's amazing. A lot of people in our audience are going through perimenopause, and I suppose what you would say to your younger self and how that's led to you where you are today.
Um, yeah, and I think you used the words, like exploration earlier, and I feel like, it's really explore with yourself, like how you feel, connect with yourself, make that time for yourself. And I think about, my journey when I was perimenopausal. I had three young kids, right? And it was, yeah, it was busy. I wasn't as good at putting myself first then. And that's something that I have learned has like deeply important. And I get to be, not only get to love myself deeper and not reject myself, but also be a better mum, right? So I think it's just like really creating space to be with yourself, but not filling it with things. We've been so wired to do, and I would just encourage people to be
Mm.
and be really present. Like, when we can just take a moment in stillness with ourselves, you know, the clarity that we can get can be, real juicy wisdom that will help us to expand.
Definitely, I'm with you there, and I think it's the number one thing that a lot of women struggle with and are almost forced to make changes during the perimenopause because, yeah, of things that are happening to their bodies and in their lives. And it's so important to, yeah, have that time alone and put boundaries in place.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Mm.
think there's nothing, and I think also, um, go slow. You know, that's what I started to really do, is go super, super slow, creating space in my business. I'm all about having a spacious business. And um, yeah, I remember when I was, you know, the journey just before I left my marriage, um, I literally went from 5 days coaching to 3.
Mm.
And it was the best thing I could ever do for myself.
Yeah.
You know, just creating that space to be able to do the things that really brought me joy.
Mm. Amazing.
Mm.
So I just kind of going back to when you were talking earlier about that kind of being connected. So I suppose maybe what if the house is empty and there's a woman listening and she's there alone? She's got this opportunity for a little bit of self-exploration. Do you have any tips of go-to products, resources that will help women reconnect with themselves?
Um, do you know, the first thought that dropped in was body oil, right?
Mm.
Because like just touching our bodies and being present with our bodies like this, you know, we haven't even been taught how to touch ourselves, right? And um just like micro touching, like this is something I teach sometimes, if it, you know, my intuition will guide me on it. And just the simple pleasure of touching ourselves over and over in the same place can just be just really beautiful. And I think, you know, exploring ourselves, like, yeah, just creating that space. But yeah, just, you know, having a bath, like that's always a really nice connection time. But I think body oil, because then we get to really explore our bodies. And, you know, as women, we can be so highly critical of our bodies. And I
Mm.
think the more we can actually give ourselves that love through touch, but also words, and connecting with ourselves in a deeper way. Um, yeah, someone's just commented, but I can't quite read it all.
Oh, I can. It's
Yeah.
Bex, who's our perimenopause expert, actually.
Ah, amazing.
She's fantastic. She says, I find in my clinics that many women feel disconnected from their partners. Have you any advice on how to reconnect?
Yeah, so the woman needs to be connected with herself first.
Mm.
That's number
Yeah,
one, absolutely number one. And if she is switched off to her sexuality, then she's not fully embracing her full self. And oh, sex therapist in training. Ah, okay. Um, so yeah, she needs to really connect with herself first, because that will allow her to feel confident to use her voice, because vulnerability is the key to connection in a relationship.
mm,
And you know, embodying that sexual energy will allow her to feel like she can express and really come into her heart space to be able to communicate with her lover.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, still starting with yourself, so important. And in your experience, what happens to a woman's sexuality at this stage of their life? Does what excites us or turn us on change or evolve in what you've experienced with yourself and with the people you work with? And are we actually ever going to get our mojo back if it's gone?
Oh my god, this I love this so much. I love this so much. I nearly choked myself. It was so good. In fact, I'm gonna have some water at a moment.
Please do.
Yeah, that was so good. I'm just like, oh gosh, yeah, it's amazing. Um, yeah, so ah, I don't know where to start. It is an incredibly powerful time for a woman at this age when she owns her sexuality.
Mm,
It is exciting, really, really exciting. And of course, you know, like I said, that starts with herself. So for me, yeah, the way that I connect with my body um, is just a different level. is just a completely different level. And yes, I am single and I've been dating, and I have had a lot of fun.
Mm.
I've had a lot of fun. Um, I just love the whole, like just getting dressed up for myself as well. Like I will do that in an evening. Like I will have a fun date with myself and put music on and put on sexy lingerie, and that's all a big part of sexuality, right?
Mm.
And that's like a daily process for me. It's like getting dressed for myself, but also I noticed that um doing my makeup, right, is a really, really like important ritual for me to connect with myself,
Mm.
and feels makes me feel really sexy and sensual. But I think it's an incredibly adventurous time for a woman at this stage in her life, when she's fully connected to herself, right? Um, which is important. There's a
Absolutely. And I think
question.
that's so important, like you say, going on a date, taking yourself on a date. Like,
Oh,
why do you need somebody else to take you on a date?
when you're single, you go on a lot of
Yeah,
solo dates. They're
yeah.
my hottest dates.
I think even when you're in a relationship, it's good to go and put
Oh,
yourself out of your comfort
absolutely.
zone. And yeah, I remember I went on my first holiday alone a couple of years ago, and literally I've done lots of traveling and met people out there and traveled with work, but I hadn't actually gone on a 2 week holiday on my own. And I was like, wow, this it was yeah, such an experience to be like do everything for me and what I wanted to do and not compromise, and these nerves that came up and going out for dinner on my own and things like that, rather than I'll just get room service. And yeah, it's a huge evolution and confidence boost, I think.
I
um
agree. It's empowering,
mm,
and good for you doing that. And for 2 weeks, I just love that. Um, yeah, I've done a lot of solo traveling since I've been single, and it's just been so much fun. And I did do some when I was married, to be fair. I was pretty good at that. But mostly maybe I'd be going with others.
mm,
There were only a few solo trips. But yeah, I think it's so empowering, and yeah, making those choices for yourself, and yeah, it's all about that reconnection, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Mm.
so yeah, we've been talking about, hey, fancy a shag, and gosh, will you stop breathing next to me? But actually, it's not about the other person. It's how can you
Sex, yeah,
pleasure yourself and listen to your own breathing and your own music and get into the vibe yourself.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, intimacy, the word broken down is into me see,
Yeah.
right? Um, because yeah, it always has to start with yourself. There's a question, right?
I had a look. It was Bex. She just said, so you can have fun at this stage.
Oh
Asking for a
yeah.
friend. Wink.
You can have whatever you want and whatever you desire at this stage. And yeah, we're in a kind of era where you really
Yeah.
can be very, very adventurous sexually if you desire that. And I really encourage women to just, yeah, explore all of those desires, because you will really find out more about
Yeah.
yourself in all of that exploration. And you will really learn what you like, what turns you on, what doesn't turn you on, what's a hard no, and all those things. And like,
Mm.
that's like just juicy wisdom. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Fantastic. So the mojo is definitely out there. We can definitely get it back.
Oh, yes, and some.
And I also see like there's such a shift, isn't there? There's so many women that you see in their 50s and 60s and even 70s, and that those women that almost look younger than some women in their 40s because of that confidence that they just exude, and it's like just oozing out of them. And that energy is in a way is a sexual energy, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
confidence that you just don't have when you're younger in your 20s and 30s. So yeah, it's quite incredible if you can connect with that and find your true source of energy. it's quite powerful.
I agree. It is all about energy. Age is just so irrelevant. And I look back at photos when I was married and I look younger now than I did. And it is all about, I believe, you know, clearing all of those untruths, all of that emotional stuff, right? So you get to really embody who you really are. And yeah, I agree. I think, life starts at 50 is what I've been feeling. It really does. I like to call it level 5,
Level
I,
5,
I'm
that's a
at,
good
I'm at,
one.
I'm at level 5, yeah.
Collecting the gold coins on the way.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for coming on today. Is there any kind of final words of wisdom you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Well, I did want to say thank you for my Valerie product. I've been meaning to say, haven't even messaged you to say thank you either. So I am loving that. Really
Brilliant.
interesting taste. So thank you so much. So yeah, thank you for sending me that to try. And what would I like to say? Um, I think just remember that your journey is always going to be your journey, and there's no comparison. And I think it's very easy to fall down that kind of like rabbit hole of comparing yourself, and everyone is going to have a very different experience, right? It's all going to be totally unique. And I think yeah, just really get in touch with yourself, as we've kind of been the theme of this live, but to really trust yourself. I think a woman's wisdom at this age becomes really, really potent and powerful. And it is like really trusting that and acting on it, because that is what I found has led me to incredible experiences and opportunities, and really to be able to have a lot of fun at this age,
Yeah.
or this time, not age, this
Level.
life stage. Yeah, level 5.
Amazing. Love it. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, please do come and follow Claire. I mean, also her Instagram handle is the Wild Woman CEO, and our community WhatsApp is called the Wild Women. So it's, yeah, such perfect alignment as well.
Yes.
Which is very exciting. And if anyone's got any more questions, please pop, if you're watching on the replay, please pop them in the comments, and I'm sure Claire would love to answer them. Or you can find out more about how she works on her Instagram bio as well. She's got some great masterclasses that she does, as well as her private work. So we've just got a quick comment in here actually. I'm 38. I didn't even know it could happen as early as this age, but I've been researching it and I'm certainly not alone. I found a community of women who are supporting each other and it's empowering. Yay! Thank
Amazing.
you. The Cosmin Project. Love it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think my perimenopause started about 35.
Yeah.
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 And
I think that when people look back, it's younger than we are reporting.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for
A
having me. It was great to
pleasure.
chat. Yeah, thank you
Cool.
so
I'll speak to you
much.
soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Wiz.